Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Streetside Brewery. Look, these guys are located in historic Columbia Tusculum neighborhood on the east side of Cincinnati, and Streetside is really the perfect mix of just local neighborhood watering hole and a modern craft beer brewery. They have 24 beers on tap, and I promise you, you will not find a bad one amongst them. These guys were great when they had us out for the live show for the CONCACAF Champions Cup kickoff to start FC Cincinnati's season, and they do events all throughout the year. They do a pint night on Tuesday nights. They do Premier League mornings. Tons of really fun events there. But a special note to Postcast listeners, if you mention the Cincy Postcast at the bar when you're getting your beer, they will take $1 off of your beer, and you let them know that we sent you their way. You can find them at 4003 Eastern Avenue or in the fridge of wherever you're picking up your next beer. Again, a huge thank you to Streetside Brewery for sponsoring the Postcast. And on today's episode, we have a very full show for you. In part one, we are looking back very fondly on the CONCACAF Champions League matchup against Cavalier, a very chilly night for the brave souls who went out for the home game there. That was a lot of fun to watch. Just goals for FC Cincinnati. In part two, we are looking at the Chicago Fire match this weekend, week 2 of regular season MLS matchup, looking how much do we know about Chicago Fire? You are about to know as much about the Chicago Fire as we do. And then in part 3, it is listener questions from our very lovely and dare I say very attractive patrons over on Patreon. We've got listener questions there. You tie it all up with a nice little bow, and that's going to be your postcast. To talk about all of that and more, I'm joined by two gentlemen who broadcast out of their basements. We're joined by the Chief. We're joined by Jonah of Knifey Lion Radio fame, and I'll say fortune. Jonah, how you doing tonight?
I feel blessed to be back to meet all these new listeners, number 13 and 14 out there. Can't wait.
I thought we invited him on just to clear up this basement controversy, because from the outside looking in, I think that there may be an argument here for gimmick infringement.
Absolutely. But, the only person and people who've noticed is me, myself, and I. Don't worry. Everything's been quickly forgotten, probably by you as well. So,
I like to think that now the way it looks like you were parodying content before the content actually existed.
Yes.
It'd be like if Weird Al Yankovic wrote a song and then Ed Sheeran was like, "That's a great beat. I'm going to do something with that." It's like, hey, this is out of order right now.
The future is now, but I hate to digress too soon, but I don't want to lose sight of that. I have a coworker who I brought it. This is going to sound so ridiculous, but I brought in my guitar to work. I only play it by myself. But I asked a coworker, I was like, "Hey, what song should I learn? And then you can sing it tomorrow while I play it." She was like, "The Shape of You by Ed Sheeran." And I was like, "Come again?" I was like, "I'm not familiar with the song." She's like, "Shape of You." I was like, "Okay," like by Ed Sheeran. I was like, "Who the fuck are you talking?" I was like, "Ed Sheeran?" She's like, "Is that how you say it?" But so you learn something new every day. So Ed Sheeran, if you're out there, Chief's a big fan. Just want you to know.
The Shape of You by Ed Gein is a very different song.
I like though that it's Ed Sheeran. Oh, is Sheeran? Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, with the R that's in there.
There's a lot missing.
It's like, have you ever played the old gimmick where you forget someone's name, and so you try to say, "Oh yeah, can you spell that for me?" Yeah, John, John.
My go-to move is just calling somebody buddy and guy, and hey, this guy, the Tiger Woods meme. That's
big dog.
Yeah, that's all I do. I'll go years just calling somebody big dog. I'm not going to give in now.
My friend.
Everyone always, for various reasons, I'm very memorable when people meet me for obvious reasons. I don't find other people memorable, so I do forget names quite a bit, and it's always very awkward running into people and just being, hey, guy, good to see you, pal. How's it going there, chief?
Hey.
Well, it's going to happen a lot more now. I mean, it's probably already happened to you a few times. I had people, and this is you guys obviously dwarfing me with your listeners, would be like, Jonah. I'm like, couldn't possibly have less idea who you are. They're like, so what, how's Zach and Nick from soccer? I'm like, how about you start with who the fuck you are? I was like, if I've talked to you, I have no idea. I have a coworker who's been calling me Mr. Noah for the last month and a half, and I'm way too deep now to correct it. So I've just been going with it. And then like other people like turn around and look at me like, huh? And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's fine. So I am Mr. Noah now.
I had a coworker just recently left our place of employment. But her go-to move was if she was like upset with you, she would intentionally forget your name in meetings. She'd be like, and oh gosh, is it Kevin? Yeah, Kevin's got that one. You're like, whoa, we sit right next to each other. What is this?
I appreciate petty moves like that, where it is very clearly designed to annoy and irk you. And there's so many other things you could do, but no, I'm just going to choose to be in this moment just very slightly petty. It's like misspelling someone's name in an email on purpose. I had a coworker that used to do that all the time.
That's good. I love that move. Like, hey, the name's squiggled now. Like, you had to intentionally ignore that. Come on now.
It's got a little wavy Spanish line I had on top of it. Are you guys, Kevin, are you caught up with Love is Blind on Netflix these days?
I have a confession to make. I stopped subscribing to Netflix like 2 years ago.
Wow, this guy doesn't even own a TV. He's gonna tell us next. I don't know. I was watching FCC away games, but well, we're all very impressed.
I just follow on Twitter.
I don't know if you're familiar with the drama of the woman. It's people who can't see each other who claimed, she's like, people tell me I look like Megan Fox. She says to the guy.
Okay.
Which obviously, she doesn't.
Pretty
but
aggressive.
Actually, the thing she said is like, it's like, who's your celebrity look like? She's like, what's her name? She's really going hard, and she's like, it's MGK's girlfriend. And he's like, Megan Fox, like, oh yeah, that's it. And I was like screaming at my TV. I was like, you fucking asshole. Obviously you're obsessed with the fact someone said you look like Megan Fox, but then to be like, oh, what's her name? MGK, Machine Gun Kelly's girlfriend. I was like, in what world do you lead with that? Like, exactly who it was. We're like, I don't know. And I said to somebody else and they were like, who is Amal Clooney's husband? I get that a lot too. What's his name? Oh, George. Yeah, that's it.
People tell me that I resemble, I don't know, he was a governor of California. He did a couple of movies back in the 90s. Arnold with a foreign last name. Oh, Schwarzenegger. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody told me that once. I couldn't remember who it was, though.
Yeah, she remembers Megan Fox more than her mother's name. Trust me.
Yeah, if somebody ever told me I look like Megan Fox, I'd never forget that moment.
Exactly.
My ego would eat for months on that one comment. Like, I'd never need to hear someone else describe me again. It's like, I'm good.
Exactly. Somebody's told me I look like House, and I was like, oh, that never got that before. But clearly I look like fucking shit now. Like, can anyone tell you look like the guy from House? I was like, the main House, the main guy. They're like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. I guess I'm turning 40.
It's like, oh no, that's not my fault. I had a rock in my shoe.
Walks with a limp, painkiller addiction. Yeah, that's good. That's a really good vibe.
That's what we're looking for here.
I am House. Speaking
of celebrity lookalikes, Cavalier sure looked like a professional soccer team. Boom, roasted.
C plus transition.
Kinda.
Right there.
Got him. Apparently, they are killing it in Jamaica. They're like a 12-game winning streak right now in Jamaica. So what do we know?
How many of those games were forfeits? Somebody showed up without enough players?
We have to say at least one, right? Probably one at least.
It's like they're on a 12-game winning streak, mostly as a result of match fixing, I have to believe.
I mean, yeah, no, I got nothing. Their goalkeeper was pretty good. I think he's the what was it? The St. Vincent national team
30
keeper.
shots on goal, and he kept most of them out, I guess.
There's a compliment for you.
He was directing a lot of traffic for sure.
He was. From my very brief perusal of Cavalier on Wikipedia, I believe he's the only non-Jamaican on the team as well. There might be one other outfield player, but funny spot to be. Were both of you at the game last night?
I was.
Yes.
Mostly because I couldn't give my tickets away to this game. Like, I looked online and there were Baileys going for $6. There were tickets in my section, large portions of tickets remaining unsold in my section of the First Financial Club. So I had to make the uncomfortable decision on whether just to eat them or go to the game. And what I ended up doing was I had another friend who was sitting elsewhere, and I said, "Do you just want to bag on your seats and come sit down here?" So his seats went unused. They came down and they hung out with us. But there were quite a few no-shows last night at the game, would be my generous way of saying it.
Yeah. Jonah, what was your thought process showing up? Were you excited for some CCL fever, or were you begrudgingly going?
We can tell now that Chief is the man behind the Auxilla One Twitter account.
Disappointed with you people.
Disappointed. Really disappointed. It was, that day was quite cold. So yes. I was just expecting it to keep dropping as far as the people there. But it was better than some. If you shoved us all on one side, could have been okay. And I don't know. But it was all right. Yeah, it was a little. I think it was exactly what I expected. How much could you expect people to come for Cavalier FC, or as all the people behind me kept just saying, Jamaica? This team just like represented Jamaica. I was like, who are we playing? Like, Jamaica. I was like, I mean, I'd like to see that, but that's not what's happening out here. So yeah. And the fact that we were minus 10,000 favorites to win the game. So I'm not too upset about it. I'm more curious what the next following game especially will be on. From then on, I don't know how to speak, but this one, I think we get a pass on.
So before we get into the game itself,
please,
can we just sort of top line talk about does anyone care about the CONCACAF Champions League?
Whoa.
Or Champions Cup?
Oh.
I'm
already
being
trying
serious.
to take us out of the other cup competition.
Does anyone care? Because I watched a lot of these broadcasts, and these broadcasts all are horrible. It's one person calling the games from a clearly remote location. I was watching the Philly Union Surprise match the other night, and you've got a commentator that's talking Futurama and trying to shoehorn as many pop culture references into the broadcast as possible. All these stadiums are generously half full for these games. And these are games that were included in the season ticket package for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
I don't know. Am I wrong to think, and from watching this, that this is something trying really hard to be something that it's not? That this wants to be big, but the broadcasters don't treat it as a big deal. The fans don't treat it as a big deal. Who exactly is trying to make fetch happen with the CCL?
So this is the way I look at it. It's the same way with the Open Cup, which is that there is a degree of just soccer knowledge that you need to appreciate what these cup competitions are, to even understand them. And I suspect the total number of people showing up to Open Cup games versus Pittsburgh Riverhounds and games coming facing off against Cavalier, that these are your soccer fans. Now, whether in season tickets aside. That's obviously going to bump things up. But I think what you're seeing is the gap between FC Cincinnati, MLS only fans that have sort of come to become only fans of FCC and MLS. No, they've only come
MLS
to be
only
a fan.
Sounds electric. I don't know that I would subscribe, but Jonah, thoughts?
I don't know. Let's ask Alvis.
Speaking of Jamaica, anyway. So
segment 4, I got some things to talk about. Go ahead, Kevin.
I think that's the gap. Is like people are just fans of MLS. They're only there because their team has a team in MLS, and that's fun and exciting. And I think that's the gap there. And that MLS and by extension the teams don't do a good enough job doing the education outreach on why these games matter.
So to take it to the next question here.
Please.
All right. So nobody cared about this game last night. We walked into it knowing that FC Cincinnati was going to roll this team.
This game in particular was of much less note than it would be in future rounds. Yes.
Is there a single team that is not in MLS or Liga MX that you would say, oh, hell yeah, that's a matchup I really want to see, and this is going to be a very competitive game of soccer?
Yes, but I'm the wrong person to ask.
My point was this. We were talking about this last night as we were walking out of the game. As it stands right now, CONCACAF Champions Cup is just shitty Leagues Cup. Because Leagues Cup, it's what everyone wants to see, and we're eliminating all the fluff. It's Liga MX and MLS.
Yes.
Why, if this is the case, why do we need both of these things?
You've just uncovered the exact reason why MLS and Liga MX created Leagues Cup. Yes.
Right? Like, we're just skipping the fluff by just doing the Leagues Cup thing.
It's a shame because it's like the exclusivity was the only good part about, and it sounded so much better when it was Champions League. It had that fake prestige, that unearned prestige. But yeah, it was like, oh, you get a CONCACAF Champions League, formerly spot, if you do X, Y, and Z, which was also hilarious because then you had the team who won like the best Canadian team. Yeah. You're like, what? Montreal's in it this year or whatever, like a crappier Canadian team that year. So to answer your question that's already gotten answered, it was like, yeah, there is really no reason, but it just feels more special right now because not everybody got in and we got in. So that's more special. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's not any more special. And I feel like in a few years, maybe they'll be treating it like the Open Cup where it's like the lesser teams will, instead of that, like, okay, if you didn't qualify, you get in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So you'll get to play a team from Jamaica, but yeah, then you're back in the league. So yeah, I could see it disappearing because MLS wants all the money for themselves anyways. So
yeah, if you got a spot in the Club World Cup for winning Leagues Cup, there would be no reason for the CONCACAF Champions Cup to exist, right?
Correct. And this is where, I mean, we're seeing this with the Super League. We've seen this with the Open Cup. This is ultimately like the battle lines that are being drawn in world soccer, which is organizers and rule makers are losing the ability to force the other entities to play in their competitions. Like the Super League is Champions League without the Polish teams and without the Greek teams, right? Like that was the premise of it. And that's what Leagues Cup is. Leagues Cup is CONCACAF Champions League, but we don't need to deal with CONCACAF and we don't need to invite the token Caribbean team to get their ass whooped. And we can just have Club America versus Columbus Crew and make all of the money. Yeah, it is interesting. The reason why CONCACAF Champions League could matter more in the future is FIFA seems to be trying to care more about the Club World Cup, and getting into Club World Cup for next year would be good because they're doing a larger World Cup style tournament through the summer with like 4 teams from Europe and 4 teams from North America. They're trying to do a much larger, more interesting thing. And that's also why they're going to try to find a way to shoehorn Miami into that competition. So Yeah.
I just don't care. Like, that was what I realized walking out tonight or last night was we had this full debate walking out of it. And Leagues Cup, I care more about it. It feels like it's a better thing. We're skipping a lot of the matches like this where it's just watching a team play, a tune-up game or a bye game in college basketball. And the Club World Cup is cool in theory, but why do I want... As an FC Cincinnati fan, what's the reward for playing in the Club World Cup? Congratulations. You get to be the only league with a salary cap going up against uncapped teams in the Club World Cup. Like, you're literally playing with a hand tied behind your back in this competition where you don't have to worry. The rest of the teams you're playing don't have to worry about designated players or how much GAM they're spending. So that's kind of bullshit. I don't know. Because, like, the other thing, too, is it's okay. This game was included in my season ticket package. So I paid for the privilege by buying season tickets of watching FC Cincinnati smash a doormat around. And we can go in and we can break this game down and we can talk about the goals that were scored. But it's impossible to take anything away from this game because the competition was so laughably inferior. I mean, would Cavalier even come in the top half of the USL?
No.
No, right?
It looks pretty small.
Yeah.
I was like, Alphys looks fucking huge right next to these guys. That was like my takeaway is how small they were.
It was comical watching this game. They were slower at virtually every position. They were unable to possess the ball. If anyone confronted them on anything, they lost every tackle, I would imagine. They lost every duel, I would imagine. I looked up at one point and the shot total was like 27-1. The entire game was played in Cavaliers' half of the field. It was just, I don't know, like, okay, we can talk about how great Brett Halsey played, but...
And I will.
And what does that tell us? That Brett Halsey can dominate a team that's made up of people that would struggle to not finish last in USL. Congratulations, Brett. You're dominating bad USL competition.
Okay, now hang on. There is something to be learned here, which is, what do you say about the players who didn't dominate the bad USL team?
We can talk about that because there were a few players on there where, I mean, we were talking on the group chat where, man, I don't know that I'd want to watch this footage back if I was Kimi Ordonez because other guys around him were cooking and he looked bad. I wish I had the kind of confidence that he had to grab that penalty in the second half and say, no, this is my shot after you hadn't done a damn thing all night. And I think it was Dado Valenzuela was looking at the bench saying, will somebody tell him to give me the ball? Somebody?
Yeah.
And Kimi brushes him off as confident as you'd like, and then goes and takes one of the worst penalties I have ever seen that is calmly saved by a keeper that wouldn't make the bench on most USL teams. It's like, what the hell, man? What do you learn from a game like this? It was fun to be at the stadium, but what a waste of time.
I say but I didn't really have a but. Yeah, that was a rough game for him. And I was like, I can't imagine you can never play him over Dado. And I don't even think they're necessarily the same position, but I don't really care. It's like after seeing him take that pass from Lucho and like that beautiful shot, I'm like, all right, you're better. Like that's fine. It didn't take a lot to convince. I mean, he had a pretty good game. Everybody was kind of just picking theirs like, okay, it's my turn. I want to style on him. And then at the beginning, you're like, why aren't you styling on him right now? Anytime there was a back pass, I'm like, go. And then they'd go and they could get to the line. It was like, God, Jimmy would crush in this game.
That's the exact same
Why didn't
thought.
Jimmy get this moment against this team? The poor guy, worst injury luck, would have crushed.
I was watching and Halsey made like a 1-2 touch and just cooked the guy who was trying to guard him. And all I could think of was, man, this would have been Jimmy McLaughlin's moment to shine. He would have absolutely beaten this guy to the line, cut that ball back, ripped a shot, and the entire place would have gone nuts. And he needed that moment. He deserved that moment.
Yeah, the just to make sure we have it there, let me run through the lineup real quick. It's an interesting lineup. Roman Celentano in goal. Your center backs from left to right: Murphy, Miazga, Kip Keller, Halsey out on the left, Alvis Powell on the right, Pinto, Wobodo, Valenzuela made up your midfield with Kimi, Ordonez, and Bupenza up top. I have a question for you guys. This is, I know I don't want to take too many large lessons from this game, right? However, I ask you this. Halsey gets the start against Chicago, right? With Oriano on the other side. Oriano on the right, Halsey on the left. Anybody disagree with that? Put Kubo back on the bench as the... Halsey looks good.
Yeah, but against who? Like, this was bad. He got whatever he wanted whenever he wanted it just by being quicker than the guy guarding him. And I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to giving Halsey a chance. I don't rate him as highly as you do, Kevin, but also I'm an idiot with a podcast who's trying to be a YouTuber. So it's like,
thank God I'm not that.
Right. I'm having a midlife crisis right now. It's very obvious. So yeah, I'm not opposed to giving him a chance, but I don't take anything away from what he did in this game and think, hell yeah, he's earned more minutes. I think that's the base, like what he did against these Cavalier team in 2 matches. That's the baseline expectation from a person who is an MLS talent, as far as I'm concerned. To me, with the lineup, the bigger interesting points for me was number one, seeing how many minutes Aaron Bupenza got when they were saying he was on a pitch count over the weekend, given how cold it was and the fact that he had a hamstring injury allegedly. I guess it's a good sign he went as long as he did, but I don't know that I would have risked that if I was the team. The other interesting thing for me is, so with FCC not playing in the Open Cup this year, I would have thought maybe that this would have been an Ali Khan or Can game, because otherwise, when is he going to get minutes this year? Or, Evan Loro, when are they going to get minutes from these two guys?
That's a good question. I guess, so my thought is, and as of time of recording, we have no information, although I suspect we'll get information Friday once this is up. I'm going to guess that only those 8 MLS teams that they're talking about have to send their first team to Open Cup. My guess is the other MLS teams will send their MLS Next Pro teams, and that is where I think Can will be your goalkeeper. So I think that's where you get the cup experience. But
okay, that's not so bad then. But those are my 2 first things that I noticed about this lineup. Yeah.
Jonah, what did you see? You excited to see Malik Pinto back in the lineup?
Always just thrilled to see Malik. No, he's fine. He's a regular guy out there. I mean, seeing Obi go against this team, which felt so unfair. Like,
yes,
he could be so far out of position and be like, never mind, I'll go get that. But the thing everybody saw it. What Jared Nijkamp, who was in town, which is just hilarious. Like, and also if they're adding to the documentary, that's going to be the most miserable thing anyone's ever seen. But him saying like Dado is like the most, player to watch for him, which either means like he's total shit or he's going to be amazing. Cause I feel like Gerard had some real late home runs, some late inning home runs where you're like, wow, I don't know about that one. They're like, hey, actually he's pretty right about that. But then also some horrible signings. So you take everything he says with a grain of salt.
Yep.
But it's anytime somebody, we'll call it quote unquote outside of the team, has something good to say about kind of a random player this year, like a name you heard last year, but it's just, he's a homegrown, but we don't really know anything about these guys. But to hear anything so he was probably the one who I was paying attention to the most during the game, just to see if can this guy actually play for us? But if we're anything like the Philadelphia Union we were trying to imitate for so long, maybe he will be a guy. So if he's someone we can bring in and take those amazing balls from Lucho and have a goal or two. That'll be probably one of the bigger takeaways for me. And I like saying Dado a lot. So
Dado.
Something to look forward to.
Dado, Lucha, Buca. That's a fun midfield.
Bupa.
I'm going to need to see a homegrown actually hit before I can believe it happens. I'm just going to, this is my one holdover from how badly I've been hurt by this team in previous years, is that I just believe anyone that comes through our academy has to be trash. Otherwise, a better organization would have found them first. I'm going to need to see some proof. I'm going to need to see some proof of concept before I can truly become a believer. It also probably doesn't help either that FCC2 has been just dog water for virtually the entire time it's existed. And so when you tell me, oh, no, we've got this promising young player, okay, where's he been?
What's he doing?
Did he get locked in the men's room for every single game FCC2 played?
Well, if they could have played a Jamaican team, they might have shined a little brighter.
Yeah, let's enter FCC2 into the Jamaican Premier League or whatever league Cavalier plays in. That seems to be something they'll be able to win, I think.
That'd be great, because then FCC2 could qualify for the Champions League at the same time Chief is pulling the senior team out.
Hell yeah. That's 4D chess right there for you folks.
Oh, God. There were 4 goals. I want to say Halsey involved in a lot of these. Love that. Goal number 1, Halsey dribbling into the box, squares it to Powell. That was lovely. But goal number 2 was my favorite. Keller to Boop. Bupenza passes it to Dado, doing like a 1-2 thing, but Dado back heel flicks it to Boop, who then fires an incredible rocket in the top right corner. That was your big takeaway goal, at least for me, of like, hey, Dado and Bupenza have chemistry. What they just did there is repeatable in MLS. And that's probably why Bupenza played as much as he did, is you want your striker to start getting some confidence. This is like the rehab assignment down to AAA or even AA. You're like, hey, Jay Bruce, just go hit some dingers in Dayton and come back. You'll be good. Just
feel good about yourself. It's good to see a couple go in the back of the net, see a couple go over the fence right there. I think Grayson was talking about this on the show this weekend. It's just seeing the ball hit the net. Just visualize and realize, and then repeat.
Oh,
was that his first outside the box goal for FCC? I'm trying to think. So we've been waiting for him we've seen the highlights of him with his left foot. We know it's powerful. We've seen him take good shots. I can't think of him getting one outside the box since he's come here. And if I'm missing it, correct me.
He's had like 3 called off for offside, where he's chipped a keeper or hit a rocket from outside that was just always just a hair offside. But yeah, I think this is the first one that got to count. So
yeah, it's just good.
Love to see it. Made the Sports Center top 10 plays, so that's always fun.
Oh, must have been a slow night. I mean, that's a good goal.
I always forget that the top 10 exists until your team is in it. You're like, yeah, this is prestigious. This is good.
Or they don't make it. You're like, this is fucking bullshit.
You're right.
Even though like I hadn't been watching for months. Like, how dare you?
Pity the poor ESPN intern that got stuck watching the game on Tubi last night to try and see if there was anything worthwhile.
Who do you contact to get permission for the Tubi highlights?
You just send him an @ on Twitter. It's like, hey, that looked pretty cool. Can we use this?
ChatGPT gives you permission.
By the way, this is the part of the conversation where I do inform everyone, because more people need to know about this.
Please.
That if you find yourself ever in a situation where you are taking a photo or video that is somehow viral or germane to the public discourse, and you start getting hit up by news media outlets saying, hi, I'm from Fox whatever, we would love to use your photo or video in our broadcast. The answer is absolutely, if you sign an agreement that pays me rights and I continue to hold the rights for the image otherwise in perpetuity. You have a right to be compensated if any organization uses your content online. Please don't just agree, especially if you are going super viral with whatever the content is.
Mm-hmm.
Words to live by. You guys see Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal?
I have not.
Have you seen that? It's a good movie. He plays a creepy guy who like films accidents and stuff and sells it to local news, but then starts creating his own things. Check it out, folks. I was gonna say this summer. I was like, wait, that's when FCC's playing. Damn it. Next off season, guys.
That's a wintertime movie.
That was like I always had a theory back in the day that the History Channel was going to start World War III just because they ran out of stuff to cover about World War II and needed another good one to do footage about.
The unsung heroes of World War II, the cafeteria workers in Iowa at the reservist station. And
it's like World War II in color. And this one is focusing on a munitions depot in Alabama that was making a specific type of shell that was loaded into tanks.
It was Animal Planet started just doing shows that didn't have animals in them. I was like, right. They got that treehouse guy. I'm like, this isn't anything to do with the pool guy. I'm like, all right, we're just kind of getting off. You run out of animals, which seems impossible, but there you go.
It's funny. Someday you're going to have to explain to kids that, okay, back when we were growing up, they would just have entire channels dedicated to one thing. And then when they ran out of that to talk about, they just started reality show competitions that had nothing to do with that. And they had to fill time somehow. And that's what you ended up with. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo on the Learning Channel.
Pawn Stars on the History Channel. It is funny that they all just sort of converge at the same point of shittiness. There's no variety to it. It's just all the same shit.
We get it. You don't have Netflix, Kevin. God.
I only watch basic cable.
So you see, they would open the storage locker up and see if there was anything valuable on the inside.
Which I will say, this is a good point. HGTV has somehow held steadfast to their commitment of being the home and garden television. They've been tempted. They've been tempted.
If we're being honest, it's the capital H, lowercase G TV. There's not a lot of gardening shows on HGTV.
They leaned into like competitions and other things as well, but you know.
But at least they're vaguely home related.
That's fair. Yeah.
The Treehouse Show would make more sense at HGTV.
No, that's classic Animal Planet.
Do you remember there was a show on HGTV that was about this douchebag couple that was flipping houses?
Oh yeah.
And I just rooted for them to fail on every one of these episodes. I think it would have been tremendously cathartic if the show was involved in just them losing money as house flippers.
Chief, you should go Wikipedia that couple.
Yeah, marriage didn't go very well.
Somebody, I think, got held at gunpoint in the process, and yet they continue to shoot episodes with each other.
Yeah, now he's got his own show now.
You couldn't pay me enough to watch a show with just that guy.
The one who went crazy on HGTV. It's Greek. I can't remember what it is, though.
Yeah. Mrs. Chief used to watch this show that was about people that sold multi-million-dollar homes. It looked like the easiest job ever. I understand. We got into this a little bit on the Discord about the ease of which other people's jobs are, especially in the fine arts community. But I'm very convinced I could sell multi-million-dollar houses. It doesn't look that hard. It's like all these people would do. Yeah. They would drive very expensive cars, talk on the phone, and shout loudly, and then eventually just have a wine and cheese party and invite a lot of people to the house and just beg them to make an offer. And then they'd make like a $2 million commission on whatever it was they sold.
Yeah. My wife still watches all of those, but at least she's like, a little more inside baseball. But yeah, it's selling this, selling that. That's what they're all called. But it does seem pretty nice. So if anyone, this is like when we were trying to get into consulting, like, hey, just come on, guys. If you're going to waste money on stuff, like waste it on us consulting your new whatever fucking shitty thing that's going to fail. Come on.
Oh, man, that was a good time. I remember the fake Charlotte supporters group. I think Mike had started. There was like a Twitter account. So this would be hilarious once it pays off in 3 years.
San Diego, watch out.
Oh shit. This is the time, baby.
And a podcast, yeah.
Start beef with the San Diego Loyal that they abandoned their one club already. Why would you join a supporters group that abandoned their team once? Come join our new group instead.
I like a San Diego supporters group that is so aggressively hostile to the other San Diego fans for jumping to their team that they've always been a fan of.
But love Cincinnati style chili somehow.
I'm mad that you have become a fan of this team because it means that you gave up on the other team and showed your disloyalty. We don't want you around here.
No heretics.
I immediately need to go register another email address for Twitter.
How about that Cavalier game, huh?
Oh, yeah. It's just great. Who else scored? Upenza with the rocket. Just absolute piss missile.
Isaiah Foster with the 4th goal.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I forgot he was on the team. I'm not going to lie.
No, Isaiah Foster had the 3rd goal. Sorry. Halsey had the 4th goal. Or no, Dotto had the 4th goal. The 4th goal, though, that Dotto goal, I will say, again, present team, not qualified here. The touch that Dotto has on that 4th goal, switching feet, looping shot, it just sort of falls very nicely into the back corner, far post shot over the keeper. Man,
that was a nice touch.
It was beautiful. That's what I wanted to see.
Kimi missed a penalty. That was comical.
That was pretty rough.
He did not look good in this game.
Rough outing for Kimi. You know who else didn't look good? Matt Miazga.
I wrote that down. That's all I wrote. Comically, I was like, did he care at all? Like, he was being so lackadaisical, and you couldn't really get mad about it. But I was like, all right, shake the cobwebs out, buddy.
No, he had the kind of energy reserved for someone that gets called into work on an off day. I'm not supposed to be here. The boss forced me to clock in, and I'm going to show up. But damn it, I'm not going to do any real work today.
You see, Ian Murphy had one break down the left side. I guess was it second? It was going away from the Barley, and the crowd starts cheering because it just keeps going and going. You're all the way, and then he kind of pulls up when he gets towards the 18-yard box, and I'm like, I'll tell you what, Mascara was seizing his opportunity. That was him last season. He's going all the way to the goal and he's ripping a shot. It's Ian, no one will begrudge you. Just fucking turn and go at the goal. You would be the best striker on Cavalier FC. I promise you. But the actual soccer player in him was I better stop and wait for my teammates.
The problem is
sad.
that Yerson Mascara is on loan from a Premier League team, and we promised to play him. Ian Murphy, if he, freelances a little too much, might find himself in a doghouse or two.
I don't know. There's not a lot of, well, I mean, Kip Keller's next coming of Jesus, right, Kevin? But
he's
not
never
too many options
job.
to replace old Ian Murphy. He's pretty. You might want to write him in ink from now on.
Sergio Santos appeared and played like Sergio Santos, which you kind of would have rather seen something better against a team like this. He looked very average. Not a game he covered himself in glory. Kevin, I want to know your take, or Joan, I'd like to know your take as well. Lucho Acosta gets a run in this game. My question is why? Why would you do this?
That's a good question. Was he the last sub? No, Oriana was the last sub. I was going to say...
Which also, Oriana was a sub in the 87th minute. Why?
So that one I think is, oh shit, we get 6 subs. Let's just use it, right? That was fun.
It's cold and he's coming from South America. Maybe this isn't the game.
Ooh,
I don't know.
It's not going to be warm in Chicago, so you might as well get him acclimated to.
Right, but he won't have been sitting on the bench in Chicago for over an hour, an hour and a half. Just being cold prior to coming in. I half believe that the reason why Lucho went in was that he gave Pat an ultimatum of either play me or I'm going into the locker room to chill. It's too cold out here just to sit here.
I wonder if Oriana's was he has to appear in so many games and then the purchase option triggers. And so this was just stat packing appearances so that we get to trigger that clause this window instead of next window or something. I don't know.
I feel like they don't mind, I would hope not going in for a few minutes, getting, you drag me here. Like, let me run around for a little bit. If they like soccer at all. I feel like Lucho, I'm sure, has a say in like, hey, do you want to play in this game tonight? I don't know. Like, they're not going to do anything against his will, too. I'm guessing Chiefs, your opinion might be, hey, let's just not risk it for something that doesn't matter at all. But, throw him out there. He's smart enough, I would hope, not to get injured. And it didn't seem Cavalier was not like going studs up on us or anything. It was not very chippy.
No, that was a team full of people by that point that had made a business decision that they no longer wanted to be here. I mean, they were all wearing heavy jackets right up until the point the game started. This was not the weather they are used to playing in. And by that point in the game, I think maybe Noonan had seen enough to conclude that they were unlikely to try and do anything that was going to violently hurt anyone.
Yeah. Definitely happy to be there was their vibe. I'm looking at the weather in Jamaica, the forecast. 88, 86, 88, 86, 86, 87, 87, 89, 89, 89, 88, 88. So, yeah, I mean, they were probably like, man, I mean, this is cool, but Jesus Christ. Like this is definitely got to be like the coldest game they've ever played, I would imagine. But
Oh, yeah. Chief, I was looking at the unused substitutes, and it would have been Kubo, Baird, and Buka. So, I mean, up to this point, you were putting starters in no matter what if you were making the subs. So, I don't know.
Do you think that after FCC went up 3-0, do you think that if Pat would have gone to the coach of Cavalier and said, you could just call him this and just stand in here for the next 20 minutes? I figure they would have said yes, right?
Yeah, it was that cold. I think in the normal weather, you play it out.
Yeah, so that one, we'll all go back to the locker room. The clock can just run. Maybe we'll send a couple of players out to sign some autographs as like a sorry, we're not finishing this game out. But I don't know. What I have no takeaways from this game. It was fun in terms of being a fan because we scored some goals. We styled on them a little bit, but this was Madden on rookie mode, and you ain't getting better playing on rookie mode.
I only had two other notes on this game. One was it was an all Costa Rican referee crew. So anybody who thought these were replacement refs, you were wrong. This is a different competition, different rules in terms of who the referees are. Some PSRA referees were used in CONCACAF Champions League games, not this one. And the other thing I have here is that Obi was taking lots of outside of the box shots, and I want to see that continue, but I would like more of them on frame. There were a lot of field goals being hit by Obi.
The first half, especially. Boop had one too. It's like, all right, just hit it low. Something good's gonna happen. Come on.
Ball over the body, guys. This is some pee-wee soccer stuff. Jonah, anything else from this game or the match day? I was not there. I don't think I said that.
Wow.
Super fan here.
Well, they took away my season ticket access, and so I get to choose not to come to the shitty games.
First of all, this is, first home game. I told my wife, like, let's buy one cup this year. Let's get a new cup. So whatever. And then as soon as we get there, we see people with the old cup still. I'm like, nice. Like a new cup has like a hologram thing on it. And you're like, maybe next game. So we're stuck with the old cup. And I got some garlic Parmesan fries for $10. And I'll tell you what, folks. Not worth the money. It's quite a paltry amount of fries. But that was one thing. That was yesterday. Yeah. What else? Winter games in general. I love a game where I can wear a coat. I'm a big fan. But the clapping, I'm like, can anyone hear us? Like, we're all doing our thing. It's so soft. It's so muted. The FCCs were so faint. I will say they started them up quicker than the first home game. I know this is my soapbox. Start the FCC chant sooner. Kill whatever chant you're doing and go FCC. And that was happening. And I was looking around. I was like, no one else is doing it. I was like, man, if we can't do FCC, it's a slow night. So, But, it's all just setting up for the next game. So. We got the shitty one out of our system.
Presentation wise, I heard it was more like League's Cup, where it was like quite the same thing. And also, no Mr. Brightside following the victory. Yeah. Whoa.
I was out the door.
That's true. I was already gone. I'm acting like I know.
I was not. You know what? There's a time and place to clap the club off and do all that sort of stuff. I was flying towards the exits at the end of that game.
It was like 15-minute, like in the First Financial Club, the 14 minutes till kickoff. And like all of a sudden there's like a graphic of a flag waving and I hear like a pre-recorded national anthem. I'm like, is that it? And then that was it. Like they did like the CONCACAF Champions Cup anthem while the teams were standing there, but they wouldn't have the players out for the national anthem. And
I don't think they did the Jamaican national anthem either, which I
don't remember that either. Yeah.
You'd think would, of all of the times to play a national anthem, the international team coming. It's like the one time where it actually makes sense.
And it played "O Canada" on Sunday. We couldn't find a recording of the Jamaican national anthem to throw on there. There was also an uncomfortably long period of time where all the players were on the field doing nothing as the people at center rippled the CONCACAF flag. And I was like, I know they're not waiting for something else to end because this game's on Tubi, and I'm pretty sure that you can just start something whenever on Tubi. But everyone looked really cold. And I was like, will you please let these people start running?
Well, I can tell you that on Tubi, they have a couple of live channels, and there was an NCAA men's qualifier of some kind that was, in fact,
sport?
Soccer. It was men's soccer. I don't remember the teams or the competition, but it was college soccer was the lead in. So there was some programming before it, but it should not have caused any delay. That was well over before.
Weird.
Also, that first VAR check was like 4 minutes long. And I was like, I didn't feel that close, but also like, if you can't tell, this is obviously, I'm not going to get in VR. But I was like, but honestly, I was like, just take it away. Like, I don't even care. I was like, we don't need the goal. We'll get another one. It's like, can we just fucking move on, man? They're like this really, I'm sure somebody gambled on first goal scorer or something. So God bless them. But otherwise I was like, can we please?
There was a $6 million bet on
Elvis Powell. Like, he's Jamaican. And then they finally hit. He was due. He was so due. So that's my man of the match. Elvis scores against the Jamaican team. Deserved it. Now score one in MLS for us and walk off into the sunset.
Elvis Powell do literally anything in MLS challenge.
Well,
he's got a lot on his mind right now.
We'll see. Look at this transition. We'll see if he does it this weekend against Chicago, which we're going to talk about in part 2. So let's go over to part 2. We'll talk a little MLS action, and then we'll get you out of here in part 3 with some listener questions. And before we get into the next part of the episode, I want to tell you about our other sponsor, Cincy Shirts. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that you've never heard of Cincy Shirts, I'm going to sit here and tell you I don't believe you, because these guys have been with FC Cincinnati from the very beginning. And we here at The Post, well, we are just huge fans of their work. They have tons of really cool FC Cincinnati gear, shirts, hoodies, hats, all sorts of cool stuff. Go over to their website, check out what they are selling. You want to go to cincyshirts.com. That is Cincy with a Y, or you can just click the link in the description of this episode. And when you go there, use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, and they will knock 10% off your next order. They have MLS and MLSPA licensed FCC gear available online or in their 3 retail locations in Hyde Park, Fort Mitchell, or Loveland. And I can attest to this. I've used this before. If they don't have your size on the shelf, they can probably print you one on the spot in the store. So again, huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring the podcast, and a huge thank you to you, dear listener, for using that promo code. All right, we are back.
Did we really finish our CONCACAF Champions Cup segment without noting the return of the king for the next round?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We're not going to talk about that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Fair enough.
No, Brandon Vazquez is coming back. I will say, we all sort of knew this was coming, and if you didn't, go check out that bracket. It's pretty neat. It was all worth it for FC Cincinnati to post the Shane Gillis SNL Cut for Time skit. It's almost like you wanted this to happen, CONCACAF. So good. It's such a good sketch to reference.
Rigged.
But also, can we, the fact that we didn't get to do any of, like, they didn't do the lineups over, they didn't do our usual, say the first name each year, like any of that, which is weird because there's home and home. Like, or home and away, so they could do it. Why do we? It's not like League's Cup where every game is in America. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to do our normal home things. But so if Vazquez comes, like, are they going to be able to do the welcome back our native son, or play a fucking video, or is it going to be this regimented CCC bullshit where they don't even acknowledge, like, this is it. Maybe it'll happen again in the League's Cup, but it'll be the same shit where it's not your own graphics, it's not your own stuff. So that'd be kind of a little lame if this is our chance to say, hey, thanks, and then forget about it, and they just breeze past it.
What would be really funny is if instead of that they put his face up on screen and told the crowd to boo this traitor.
Hey, whoa.
Like, going a little aggressive here tonight.
Yeah, where's the stadium manager who was doing the Anthony Precourt did nothing wrong graphic for Columbus? Yeah, I want the what was the scene in The Force Awakens where the stormtrooper shows up and just screams "Traitor! Traitor!" Yeah, I just want that over and over.
This is Brandon Vazquez lateral move.
Oh God! Well,
anyways,
we do have a match this weekend. It is against the Chicago Fire, notably not a team in CONCACAF Champions League because they suck.
And not a team that drafted Omar Cummings, even though his house was on fire, as we learned earlier. That
is true. They probably could have used him.
Listen to the interview. It was funny.
It was funny. The Chicago Fire's a funny team. They drew against Philadelphia 2-2 last week, and they're the team, one of a couple of teams, I guess, that were sort of claiming the off-season title, that they had made the most best acquisitions, and therefore they were all brand new team. Kellen Acosta was their big free agent signing. Tom Barlow was traded from New York Red Bulls. So there's somebody that you used to hate on New York Red Bull over there. Andrew Gutman, who very weirdly started off his career as a Chicago Fire player, but never played for them, and then went out on loan to Charleston and then to Celtic, and then somehow found his way to us, and then Atlanta, and then Red Bull, and then Colorado. Made his way back to Chicago and then got injured like 3 minutes into it, and his season might be done. I haven't seen an update on that, but yeah, pretty rough non-contact injury for him. But their big signing was this guy, Hugo Kuipers, who has exclusively played in Belgium and Greece. And that's all of the things I know about Chicago Fire.
Did we mention their reserve goalkeeper?
We did not. Who is?
Spencer Ritchie.
I hate him already.
There's your desperate attempt to find a Cincinnati local connection, which really makes us real media. That whenever anything happens, we've got to find that Cincinnati connection to really tie the viewer or tie the listener to it.
You remember him from that USL shootout against Chicago Fire? All those big saves.
Yeah.
No, I know. We should have all agreed to just say that and go along with it, just so somebody's screaming at their car stereo, like, "No, what the fuck? No, it's like, I think I remember." Okay.
Never heard of him.
Spencer says no. The chant ringing out around.
I have the T-shirt. The Spencer says no.
Milk first. Milk first. We'll latch on to anything, won't we?
Man,
Milk first was kind of like the original pancakes. You know, it mentioned once, and then just the fan base latched on immediately. It's like, guys, I don't even eat cereal.
Never had cereal in my life.
Yeah, we have a weird obsession with finding out breakfast interests of players, it turns out.
Not to give too much away for later, but this is probably why they haven't let us find out anything about Yuya Kubo.
It's like a weird breakfast thing.
It's like, please leave me alone.
Way too attached to some
What would be the weirdest thing you could find out about Yuya Kubo eating breakfast?
saltines. I don't know, like a single saltine. No,
like he enjoys eating frozen Pop-Tarts for some reason.
You know, with the right flavor, that might not be terrible.
God, we really don't know anything about that guy, do we?
No.
I hope he's not doing anything weird. Just keep it. I just want to. He's a beautiful boy. Don't tell us anything.
The good thing is there's absolutely nothing in Japanese culture that would be weird that we could find out that he's interested in.
Nope, it's all very much exactly the same as our culture.
Yeah, do not Google that. No.
Yeah, he's a huge businessman in Japan, but all he owns are like the vending machines that sell like used panties. God damn it, Yuya!
Why are we funding this?
That's the family business that he's running away from Japan. He doesn't want to be the heir to his panty vending machine empire, so he came to America to play soccer.
Hey, introduce that in Cincinnati. We got some panty sniffers here. Come on, it's not share the wealth, yeah.
This is our threat. Just we will continue to make weirder and weirder backstories for Yuya Kubo until somebody does a really good profile.
So someone tells us what this man's all about.
Or they release the Miazga tape. One or the other.
One or the other. I will be satisfied. So with that,
I guess Kellen Acosta will start eventually. So maybe he starts this week for Chicago because he came off the bench, right? He replaced Shaqiri, I think. Late.
Yeah. So
Shaqiri.
This is probably our first game where we'll get our first choice center backs with Murphy, Miazga, and Robinson. So that'll be fun. Oriano, I'd expect to start. I am putting, and dare I say, in ink, Halsey into the lineup on the left side, and I'd put Oriano on the right side. Otherwise, as you'd expect elsewhere.
Same up top. We're going to do Baird and Bopenza. I guess Boop didn't start match week 1. I assume he's going as a full starter in this one. I would hope.
60 minutes against Cavalier. I'll go ahead and say everything is okay unless he gets injured.
Did you guys mention after the first game? I'm not shaming him. He looked great. I don't know if it's the canvas kit. Wife said it's looking a little thicker than last year.
Little Bopenza thickness there.
Yeah, looks like I said he's had a busy, rough offseason. If he wanted to eat his feelings a little bit, but I'm also not sure he's any bigger. But
he was eating his feelings, all right.
He had a full meal.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice anything, but I'd believe you. That you are the expert.
Breaking news: Bopenza looks slightly chunkier. Do that with what you will. No, I hope he starts it.
The reports of the kit are that it's a little tighter this year, a little slimmer fit. So maybe we're just noticing that.
That's fair.
Maybe he didn't size up appropriately when requesting his custom-made jersey.
You know what I want out of the Chicago game? And maybe this is how we should start previewing things. It's like what we want. What's the wish list there? I want Buka to have a highlight. I don't care what it is. I just want like Buka to have like a noteworthy moment. I think that would be really good. He was fairly anonymous in the first leg against Cavalier. I don't know that they said his name once. Looking back, rewatching the game against Toronto, and then obviously didn't play against this one. I need a moment from the guy. He's supposed to be our Junior Moreno replacement. Moreno had moments. You know, he wasn't the perfect player, but he had moments. I want to see a moment.
I think I need to see something out of Luca Oriano that leads me to believe that FC Cincinnati's preferred method of attack of going outside in and linking up with Lucho, that they can produce threatening moments, because they didn't produce any in the match against Toronto. And if this team is confined to central Route 1 attacking, they're very easy to defend and they're very predictable. And so while I would like to see something out of Buka, at the end of the day, if Buka is just providing competent sort of defensive work and box-to-box work in the midfield, I can live with that. But Oriano, they brought him in, and he needs to be, at some point, Barrial's replacement. And with as involved as Barrial was in the offense last year, he needs to show me something in this game. The other thing I'd like to see is I would like to see Aaron Bopenza score an MLS goal and just get the ledger working for the year right now. got a little confidence coming out of Cavalier, hopefully. That would be nice to see the ball hit the back of the net. And I'll give you your due, Kevin. I would like to see some minutes for both Halsey and Dotto just to see what's there, because I can't take anything away from Cavalier. I could be convinced that if they play well against Chicago, that there's a there for both of them.
I mean, my takeaway from the Cavalier match is that Kip Keller should be starting over Matt Miazga, and I will not hear anything to the opposite of that.
Wow.
Jonah, what you got something on the wish list?
Yeah, you'd like to see something approaching chemistry between Lucho and someone. I'll let him decide who it's going to be for this game. But like, he lost his like most trustworthy bros in Moreno, Barrial, even kind of, Vazquez. He knew what Vazquez was going to do and stuff. So everything's different. So, him and Luka, who I think obviously everybody kind of just defers to Lucho in general, but was definitely kind of deferring to whatever he wanted. So it'll be interesting if Bopenza does start, because Bopenza, of anyone on the offense now, he's like the only one who will not just defer to what Lucho wants, because he's like, he thinks he's the best player on the team, which you would hope your DP striker does think so. So maybe it's those two, working together. That would be the most beneficial to the team, to see Lucho and Bopenza do something together. So, that's it. A link up between someone. I mean, I will obviously take some individual brilliance, but Lucho and someone, pick someone, make something happen, get some chemistry started, and that's what I'd like to see.
I mean, after Sunday, just can we start with a goal?
Yeah,
I don't care who at this point, just a goal.
Back in the Jaap Stam years, especially that last 2021 season, I was in the habit of writing previews for FCC back then, and for like 3 months straight, everything was just like, can we just see a goal? I just want one goal. Just a single solitary goal.
Just kick it in the net and see how it feels. Let's all cheer. Let's have this moment together and just see what happens.
So two games in a row without goals. It might be crisis time for Noonan.
Oh yeah, panic time.
Chiefs setting Twitter on fire if that happens. Chief, 4-4 tie or 1-0 win? I know it's not a real question, but you want to see 4 goals go in, or you want to lock down those 3 points?
Get those 3 points.
Okay. Yeah, that's the spirit. I knew you were a supporter shield truther in the end.
No, 1-0 victories are beautiful if you have a lot of them. If you find yourself on the wrong side of that ledger as much as you're on the right side of it, it becomes insufferable. But
if Baird could have just made that fucking overhead kick, what a loser, Would have been talking about that game so differently.
Last 2 games, we've had 2 attempted bicycles, and I gotta say, I love that for this team. I like that that's where our heads are at.
Bopenza almost killed a man trying to bicycle. Like, he bailed out at the exact last second. That dude's head would have been in the Cincinnati club if he would have tried to connect on that.
I feel like it's the punt block thing, though, where if you get a piece of the ball, you can murder the punter. So I feel like on like a bicycle, like if you connect with the ball at all, it's like, well, you got the ball. Right. but as soon as you missed, it's like, oh, that's way high. Like, well, it always is, but you didn't get the ball.
Dude's head has been fully detached from his body, and his teammates are like, it's okay. It looked really cool.
Yeah. Right.
He would have wanted to go this way.
It should always be judged on how cool the highlight is.
Gotta let it slide.
Do we get another sub if a guy dies? I know we get a concussion one. Do we get an extra sub otherwise?
That's a good point. They probably should have a contingency there. We need predictions. And Jonah, we'll start with you. FC Cincinnati, Chicago Fire.
Heart or head? I obviously watched a lot of that first Chicago Fire game, and I replayed it a few times too. I just couldn't get enough of it. But I was gonna say 2-2 tie. I was like, fuck, that's just what they just did. Like, the odds of that happening 2 times in a row are very slim. So 1-0 to the good guys. Why not?
Oh, I like it. Chief, before I ask you yours, I do have it from Grayson. Wow. I had to really pause. I almost
I was going to say good authority. Oh, okay.
Grayson has 2-1 good guys as his official prediction. Chief, what say ye?
2-1 does feel right, but I don't want to just copy Grayson blindly.
I like that we never pick the same ones, even though there's no reason for doing this.
I think we're going to draw 1-1. I think it's going to be not panic, but it's going to be, all right, let's get this into gear here, guys.
Do we score first or second? That really changes how I feel about it.
That's true.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
I'll begrudgingly accept this thing that has no impact.
You have no choice but to accept it. That's what I'm saying.
No, take it back. New prediction. I don't like that one. Well then, I will say 3-2. That doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm predicting.
Nothing makes sense.
I would think that our defense is good enough to not do that, but also, why not? That sounds fun. I'll watch a 3-2 game, which is at 8:30 Eastern. Always fun when we go to the central time zone there.
Yeah, I got to find a place down at Bachfest that's going to be showing the game. So,
once again, not having a home game during Bachfest.
It should be a war crime. Like the two, they should have a home game during Bachfest and Oktoberfest. That should be the 2 times on the year where MLS just says FC Cincinnati gets a home game.
Oh, and then they could wear their diamond kits at that game?
They should have the Bavarian kits, and it's like they break those out every year for Bachfest and Oktoberfest, and this league just is allergic to fun. It's like, oh, you only get a third jersey if you sell this many, and we're going to keep it all secret until we do it. Just give them the Bavarian diamond kits. They get worn twice a year, Bachfest and Oktoberfest. They would sell just a metric ton of them.
That's so stupid.
It is.
Last 3 FCC Chicago games, 3-2 Chicago, 3-3, then 1-0 FCC. Oh. So, had the 3-2 in there, 2022, had the 1-0. 3-2 wasn't too crazy.
I'm shocked that over the course of 3 games with FC Cincinnati, Chicago has scored 7 goals.
Yeah, well.
That's insane.
I'll never forget the Chicago Fire game where they ruined our mass busboy attempt, right?
Yeah,
I'd smuggled in a box of busking cookies, and then we just got absolutely trounced.
Yeah. Our first attempt at video content.
R.I.P. We'll still have the photo with Big Boy, though. That was really funny.
Lives on forever.
I didn't expect to move this quickly through this, but I don't watch a lot of MLS. I don't have a whole lot to say about Chicago. Is there anything about this game? Is anybody making the trip up there?
No. If it was like later in the year, maybe, but like penciling in a early March trip to Chicago is usually, I don't know, dicey.
They were selling tickets. You could get like 50-yard line tickets for like $12.
Aren't they moving out of Chicago? Isn't that supposed to happen soon?
So it's kind of a weird. Wow, they don't have their logo in SeatGeek. That's weird. So it's kind of a weird situation. So Chicago Fire plays at Soldier Field, which is where the Bears play. The Bears are desperately trying to leave Soldier Field. I think their plans are confirmed. They're moving out to a dome in the suburbs. So that leaves just the Chicago Fire as the sole tenant at Soldier Field. At the same time, the Chicago White Sox are trying to build a new stadium. I assume just somewhere else in the south side of Chicago, leaving, guaranteed rate field or whatever.
New Comiskey Park, which is a dump, by the way. It's a terrible stadium.
Right. We'll leave it vacant and empty. So there was a rendering shown at one of these various community council meetings where it showed new Comiskey Park, or I guess old Comiskey Park, there was
an old Comiskey Park.
Or whatever one the White Sox would be abandoning now would be converted to a soccer stadium for the Chicago Fire. I don't know if that's a knockdown rebuild or a retrofit of a ballpark, but that was one hypothetical. The other one, which, I mean, I know Soldier Field is really big, but like just stay there. It's already built. Just buy the stadium. So I don't know. So Chicago Fire could go any one of these directions. I assume they won't go piggyback with the Bears out in the burbs, but
I would imagine the land Soldier Field sits on is way too valuable just for a soccer team to own.
I do wonder if Soldier Field, because they did massive renovations 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but they still have some of the old original like Coliseum columns on one side. I don't wonder if it has like historic preservation designations or something. It might be too difficult to just knock down and put condos up or something.
Well, there's a will, there's a way.
No, very true.
We're having a housing crisis in this country, Kevin. I'm not sure if you heard.
Well, you could do worse than to convert a massive stadium into housing. I have an idea.
There's a ballpark in Japan where they did that, where they just built a neighborhood inside the baseball stadium, but left the stands and everything else up. It's very weird.
That's very Fallout 4 for those of you that played that one. No, I had this idea. So I went to, this is your Chicago Fire preview content. I went to the Eastgate Mall yesterday, and as you might imagine, there's not a lot there. But if you're a nerd, there is a lot going on. A lot of board game shops. There's a Nerf gun arena. Looked very fun. Lots of retro video game shops. Anyway, I'm walking around this mall and I thought, why would you not convert the anchor stores, which are like all closing, like Dillard's and Sears? I don't even think those are open.
The Dillard's is an outlet. It's a fantastic spot to go if you really want to buy clothes on the cheap.
Excuse me. Yeah. Can you buy it by the pound? I know some of those do that. That's so good.
Hey, when the big and tall section goes on sale, we don't ask a lot of questions, all right?
Love buying clothes by the pound. No, you convert those into apartment complexes. Then you have like the built-in human capital to support small businesses within the mall, strap a whole bunch of solar panels on top, and all of a sudden you have the climate change community of tomorrow built in, baby. We're avoiding the heat.
Who is going to buy an interior apartment with no windows in a place that used to be an elder beerman? Like, who's going to do that?
Hey, you said housing crisis. If I offer you $300 a month rent, that'll work.
And $300 a month rent, and the entire building smells like Auntie Anne's the entire time.
That sounds like a dream.
That sounds pretty rad, actually. No, believe it or not, I actually know a tenant in the Eastgate Mall. My one friend and his wife own a bakery, Oliver's Desserts, that's in the food court at the Eastgate Mall.
I saw them. It looked delicious.
Yeah. Hear that, Kevin? That's a free plug. Get a sponsorship in here, cheapskate. No, they're very good. Their cupcakes are delicious. Yeah, Chicago Fire.
Chicago Fire.
For $50, we can sit 10 rows behind the FCC bench. So
why are we rivals with Chicago? Why has this never become a thing?
Because they suck.
Yeah,
and we sucked before.
There is that too.
I don't know if we've had
I just don't care. I don't see any reality where I would ever want to be in a rivalry with the Chicago Fire. I just don't care.
This is where I care. Is The Athletic always writes nice things about Chicago, despite being the exact same thing that FCC was from 2019 to 2021, which is owned by a wealthy owner, European general manager. Sure, they spend a lot of money, but they're awful. They're absolutely awful. But for some reason, that's cool, unless you're Cincinnati. So that's why they annoy me.
The problem is that, so it's like the Reds and the Cubs. The Reds and the Cubs, they're in the same division, but the Cubs rival is the Cardinals. They don't care about Cincinnati. We hate the Cubs because we hate Cubs fans down here that flood Great American Ballpark whenever the Cubs have a homestand. But the Cubs fans are sort of grossly indifferent to us. I don't see Chicago ever caring about that. I assume they hate St. Louis now because they hate St. Louis in every other sport. Is that a rivalry, St. Louis, Chicago?
Not that I'm aware of. Well, they're on opposite conferences, so yeah. They might not have ever played. So
that's wild. I just don't care. I don't care about Chicago. I forget they exist from time to time.
Jonah.
Chicago forgets they exist from time to time.
You'll hate them after this weekend. Oh boy, it's gonna be a barn burner. Yeah, I don't have a feeling about them in any way, shape, or form. And I would guess they're very passionate fans wherever they are. Don't really care much either way about us, but it's got to start somewhere. So when Bupenza does something really shitty to them, maybe that'll be the catalyst for something more special. So
it would be fun if like Aaron Bupenza went around the league and just made it his personal mission to create new rivalries for Cincinnati everywhere.
With a sprinkling of Miazga on top, that's more than enough to rile up a few teams. So
I would watch this buddy comedy duo of Aaron Bupenza and Matt Miazga just attempting to get into fights places.
I mean, we're about to. That's what this MLS season is, baby.
They greenlit this show for a full season already.
Maybe Chicago's good this year. Who knows? Anything's possible. I don't know.
That's true.
Why not?
Drew Philly in Philadelphia. That's not the easiest thing to do.
There you go. Maybe Philly sucks.
Yeah. Andre Blake was hurt. So
Loser.
Big old asterisk on all that. All right. I think that's going to do it for our preview. I hope you feel way more informed about Chicago after that and Eastgate Mall. Let's head on over to part 3. We've got some listener questions and you're off and running to your weekend. All right, we are back. I have 3 questions. Josh Burke, I'm cutting your question. I'm saving it for another day. It's a good question, but it might take its own whole episode. So, teaser.
Wow.
Teaser.
Now I want to hear that question more than any of the others.
No, you'll like this one. This one's from Bart Sharkey, and he asks, what movie do you secretly enjoy, but you wouldn't necessarily discuss amongst friends? Poker night, barbershop. What are you not willing? What's your guilty pleasure movie, basically? Who wants to take it?
I don't really have any guilty. I feel like most people put out the ones they're embarrassed of with a sense of irony, even if in their hearts they just truly love it. Like a guy, like any of us, will say a rom-com probably, and I'm like, I just can't help it. So it might be something like that. I'm partial to Fools Rush In with R.I.P. Matthew Perry and Selma Hayek, but who isn't? What a beautiful, beautiful lady. But I'd have to really think about it to see one that I wouldn't want to tell people about. I don't know. Chief, you got one that comes soaring to the front of your head?
Random, like odd movies that I really like that are kind of, I don't know that I would call them guilty pleasures. Trying to think what the worst movie is. So there was a comedy from back in the early 2000s called Death to Smoochie that was starring Edward Norton and Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart was in it too, about 2 rival children's television hosts. One who plays kind of like a Pee Wee Herman type character, and the other who plays like a blatant Barney knockoff, and it's very funny, but just profoundly weird. It eventually, it includes a scene where Edward Norton's character is lured to a Nazi rally in an attempt to discredit him as a kids show host, and ends with an avant-garde ice show performance for kids in the rhino costume, which is very weird. That's kind of a guilty pleasure. I don't know. There was a really horseshit. What was his name? It was Ben Affleck and Uma Thurman in a John Woo movie called Paycheck about a guy who builds a machine that can see the future, and then uses that to help him escape the people trying to kill him for destroying the machine that predicts the future. It's terrible, but I really, really liked it.
Huh.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. It's terrible. It's terribly acted. It's one of the worst movies ever, but I liked it. So there you go. Paycheck and Death to Smoochie. They're my 2 guilty pleasure movies. David Lynch's Dune. I like that too. That's a terrible movie objectively.
Oh, that's rough.
The Black Hole, classic 1977 Disney sci-fi movie. That's a guilty pleasure.
I also like that movie.
Boy, I've got a lot of these. All right.
Just all of Chief's entire DVD library, it sounds like.
It's pretty bad, actually.
I guess mine with having little kids, I guess mine has to go children's movie route. I like the Disney film Luca a lot, and I feel like the pandemic killed any attempt of that being like a movie that people have even heard about, let alone actually saw. I really like Luca a lot. It's really funny.
It might have been the woke homosexual overtones, Kevin, that killed that one. I don't know if you read about that.
We're allowed to have a best friend.
Sure.
Oh my God.
That's what they said, but we all know the truth.
They're prepubescent, I think.
Whatever, man. Just saying. This was the word on the street. Yeah, that was a good movie.
I like it. I don't know. What else? Jonah, what do you got? Come back to you.
It's hard to say, like, guilty pleasure, you know? It's like a bad movie, like, it's like,
yeah, I was gonna say,
I was also thinking
like Boondock Saints 2
Avatar fell
count?
in this category where it's like everybody shits all over it, but I liked it a lot, the original.
Yeah, but it's also the number one grossing movie of all time.
There is that.
Someone out there liked it. Boondock Saints and Boondock Saints 2 would be in my, like, probably not a good movie objectively, but like,
yeah, they got cringier over time.
Yeah, those are fucking awesome, though.
The Power Rangers movie, the original one, that's a very special place in my heart. Yeah. But, it's hard to say it's any, like, cheesier than Power Rangers, the show. Contact, another movie that I've seen panned a lot recently, which, like, was profound to me, the Jodie Foster movie. I was like, I know, that's what I thought. But then I see people ragging on it. I was like, I thought we were all into Contact. I was like, no. I mean, the sexual chemistry between Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. Wow. Really powerful stuff.
Isn't he a priest in that movie?
I think, what would you call, he's one of those ones that can.
Is he the chaplain?
Yeah, something like that. He's a holy man. But
he's non-denominational.
He's not a Catholic priest.
He was wearing the collar. I thought he was a Catholic priest in that movie.
I don't think so. Well,
there's no way to tell.
Whatever. Great movie.
All right.
Yeah.
So there you go. Thank you, Garrett. Or no, not Garrett. That was Bart's question. Garrett asks us, God, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take us to soccer here. How many more goal contributions does Lucho need this year to win the MVP over Messi? And I think
know that Messi's going. I don't know that Messi's going to win the MVP. I don't know that he's going to stay healthy enough to win the MVP.
So I'm taking this as, let's assume for a moment Messi will win the MVP over the course of a normal season. Okay. How many more goals and assists would Lucho need in order to take the title from Messi?
Okay, so we baseline is Messi, and we're asking what the plus number is that Lucho needs to beat him.
Correct.
Oh hell!
Yeah.
if it's goal contributions,
yes.
Probably like at least double digits, 10, 15.
You got to be beating them in the standings too, because otherwise, if they're ahead of us, they'll be like, "Well, this is Messi. He's why that they're
right."
If they're below us in the standings, it's we're giving this to the best player. If they're above us in the standings, Messi was the most valuable player to his team,
to the best team, right?
Yeah, I was thinking 10 when you said 10 more goal contributions than Messi.
I also think it matters goals versus assists, because if he's got 10 more assists than Messi, but Messi has more goals, he ain't winning the award. Like that's not gonna. He has to not only have more goals than Messi, he also has to have double-digit more goal contributions than Messi, I think.
Let's say Lucho has 10 more goal contributions, but 8 of them are penalty goals.
That's funny. I was going to ask over-under for Messi penalties at 8.
Right.
How many penalty goals do you think Messi gets this year? How many did Lucho have last year?
Does he take penalties for Miami?
God, he would have to now. Is he not?
When they're leading, he tends to give it to whoever needs confidence. So he gave some to Joseph Martinez. He gave one to Campana, I think, last year. I'll go over 8. I think he gets more than 8 penalty goals over the course of the season.
Yeah, I think he gets more than 8 because they want to pad his totals and they want to give him the MVP award.
Yeah.
I also am staying woke on the idea that they're going to award him There was just a announcement this week that the CONCACAF is getting an extra Club World Cup spot
for the host
company. Yep. And they haven't said they said they haven't decided how they will determine who wins that, I guarantee you they will give it to the team that won League's Cup last year.
No way. You just make the final in Miami and you give it to the host city. That's how the Club World Cup used to be. So you would take the previous winner and all of the Champions League winning teams, and that gave you 7 teams. That would give you 7 teams. So you needed one more to make 8. And that was always the host city. So like some club in Tokyo hosted a bunch, a Dubai team hosted a bunch. So there is absolutely the precedent to let the host city team be in the tournament. And that's where I think you could host the final or even the opening game. Screw it. And in Miami. And that's how you give Inter Miami the chance.
Well, he's playing in it no matter what. If he plays a full season, he's winning the MVP award. The only reason he won't win the MVP is if he gets hurt for a significant amount of time, which I think will happen. So,
boom.
I think Miami is not going to make the playoffs this year. That's my bold take.
Wow.
They looked old and slow against Galaxy on Sunday.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I can dream.
Final question here. It's from Harrison
Madunian. Oh.
No.
Don't underestimate.
Big fan.
Huge subscriber all the way from the Netherlands. And I love this question. And if you guys don't have answers, that's great. I wrote down a bunch of answers here. He asks, which player best captures the energy of the following? The West Side, the East Side, Northern Kentucky, and the Northern Suburbs. I think this is a great question.
All right, so West Side Energy is... Okay, our East Side Energy is...
Here, I'll give you my answers.
Nick Hagland has to be one of these. Okay, so Nick Hagland, Northern Suburbs Energy.
He is from the Northern Suburbs. It would match.
He's got the vibe of the kid that played select soccer and his parents traveled around and he sold candy bars door to door and all that stuff back in the day that people used to have to do before there was academies and whatnot.
So this was my answer for the Northern Suburbs. I said Yuya Kubo. And I said, and this is alluding to the previous answer, it probably has a thriving culture and background, but nobody has any idea what it is.
Fair.
I don't know what's going on up there.
I would say East Side culture, that feels a little bougie, a little people that think they're better. Like, oh, you move to the East Side, you're better than the West Side. They've got like that attitude that the West Side's for hillbillies.
It's a fact. All of these are facts.
Well, that's what they feel. I don't believe that's the case. There is not a lot of daylight between Beachmont Avenue and Harrison Avenue. It's the same thing. It just depends on what flavor of town you want to be involved in.
It's the circle theory. So you go far enough, you meet again.
It's the 275 theory.
All of a sudden you're in Zanesville and you're like, what the fuck? This is just as bad. I might as well been driving really west the whole way. Yeah.
So East Side, I got to think on. West Side is Matt Miazga. Matt Miazga has like West Side energy a little bit.
Okay.
Where he might throw some hands with you. I could see Miazga, crushing a few at the Pirates Den or Maloney's. That just feels like a vibe that he could get down with.
I like that. My answer for West Side was Brett Halsey. And I only say that because every single person I know that lives west of I-71 owns rental property. I
didn't think about that. I forgot about that.
And he is our real estate mogul on the team. So that's Brett Halsey.
Dear friend of the family, Brett Halsey.
Northern Kentucky.
So Northern Kentucky, I went Matt Miazga.
I know, it's hard to differentiate.
Has a chip on his shoulder.
Things, so, yeah.
Right. But Matt Miazga has a chip on his shoulder for no discernible reason. That's Northern Kentucky to me. I just hey, whoa, chill out, guys. It's all right.
We're part of the region, too. You can't just say we're not from Cincinnati.
We're just cracking jokes, guys. It's all right. I don't think the West Side's part of Cincinnati either, but here we are.
I don't know. I guess for the East Side, going back to there, I guess maybe like Dato Valenzuela.
Ooh, okay.
Young, maybe living in Oakley or Mount Lookout.
So my answer for the East Side was Evan Loro, because he is an East Coaster stuck on the east side of Cincinnati, just like how East Siders think that they are East Coasters stuck on the east side of Cincinnati.
I don't know. You know who else I could see playing here on the east side is Lucho Acosta. You know, just got the money, the big contract, moved into Hyde Park, moved into Mount Lookout, and the nice part of Mount Lookout, not like the I live by millions of dudes and ML dudes.
Hey, that was me. Watch out now. It was very close to Andy Dalton, though, at the time.
Right.
Yeah. You know, Joe Burrow, star of the Bengals, he's an East Sider, just moved out to your neck of the woods in Anderson. Lucho Acosta, East Sider, you know, that's where the superstars live. When you sign the big contract, you move over to the east side. So
Vazquez
I'm going to change my answer. It's Lucho Acosta. Northern Kentucky, yeah, I agree. It's somebody with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, plays with a little attitude, plays with a little edge. So I'm going to say Yuya Kubo because we've been told that he has a reputation as a dirty player. I can't figure out why.
That's Northern Kentucky. That's like the mob history.
Yeah,
like, we used to be a mob den. It's like, I don't. But you got a cute aquarium. What are you talking about?
No, you have a shipping container bar now. You can't be mobbed up and do that. Yeah, Yuya Kubo has Northern Kentucky energy. It's like he's someone where you expected a little more, and you're not disappointed with what you got, but it's also not what you were hoping for completely.
It's flying into Northern Kentucky. You're like, wait, I thought it was in Ohio.
Right.
He was the good thing, and then like he got replaced by better ones in your own city. You're like, hey, this is the movie theater place. Like, we got to go here for Newport on the Levee, and they're like, actually, we finally got our act together. The team finally got our act together. The city finally got together. We started building shit people actually wanted to do in our own city. So we don't need you as much anymore. But we'll come there every now and again.
We'll keep you around,
It's like, why would you want to drink Bud Light at bars when you can have authentic craft beer at Hofbrauhaus? Like, that was cool when it opened, but now there's like 70 breweries in town. I don't need to. The novelty of the big steins is over, and plus everybody stole them all, so they give you plastic cups now.
Bastards.
Yeah. Jonah, you got anything for?
I don't think I could top anything what's already been said, but I feel like on my own time I'm gonna have to go through our roster now and just answer these questions for myself. It's a good one to ask on Twitter, and once the episode drops, see what post Cincy Nation, as you guys have never called it, will have to say about it.
We really discourage nationhood on this show.
Fair enough.
The post heads?
I don't like that.
See what the posties say. What are Post Malone's fans called? Well, I'm not seeing
Posties.
anything. No, there's a whole Reddit thread like, what do we call ourselves?
Oh, God.
That's never a good sign.
We gotta have a name.
We need to give ourselves a name.
No, looks like
we should
nothing.
just take somebody else's. Or you're now a parrot head. If there's any confusion, I'm sorry, but we're just.
Someone said Postmates.
I like Postmates because then mates is like, we got our fake Britishisms going. That's good.
Stonies would be good, but they don't call themselves that. But that would be a good one.
I asked ChatGPT this question. Come up with 10 names for the listeners of a podcast called the Postcast to call themselves.
Okay.
All right, so I need to see if any of these hit. Number 1, Jonah, the Postmates.
Hey.
Number 2, the Castaways. I
don't get it, but I like
it.
Postcast. Castaway. No.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I'm stupid.
And now we've ChatGPT fell down a little bit here. The Echo Enthusiasts. the Audiogrammers.
Audiogrammers.
The Pod Explorers.
Excelsior.
The Sonic Scribes. The Frequency Fellows.
I like that. It's an option to Cincy Jacks.
The Mic Masters.
No.
The Resonance Rovers.
Are we starting a youth soccer team? Wait a second.
Folks, if you think the AI is taking over, I've got bad news for you. And the Echo Elites.
Echo Elites.
That's the next Patreon tier.
Echo Elites. I think that's a Jason Statham movie.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, Echo Elites is my guilty pleasure movie. Oh, God. I think it's an episode. I don't know what else to talk about.
So I told her I redid it and said,
Okay.
I made sure that the names have either words post or cast in the name.
Okay.
The post scripters, the cast crafters, the post pioneers, the broadcasters.
The broadcasters.
This is very clever.
This is terrible. The pod post pros. There we go.
It's alliterative, so it's a winner.
The cast postians.
The cast
What?
postians.
Like they're hitting on
You would
something.
just be the postcastians.
The postcastians.
Don't make it more complicated, ChatGPT.
This has gone off the rails.
Yeah, get us out of here, Chief.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati and, like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it, if you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening. And if you'll allow me, a very special shout out, a very special person in my life, James Gumbert. Rest in peace, my man. You will be dearly, dearly missed by your entire family. Love you, big guy.